Russia's ships face blockade to strangle Putin's World War III war machine amid Ukraine crisis. Russian ships should be blocked from using ports across the world amid ongoing tensions with Ukraine, an ex-U.S. ambassador has urged. Ambassador John Herbst, who served as the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine under George W. Bush, has urged the West to consider banning Russian shipping that has passed through the Sea of Azov. Russia and Ukraine's latest row has erupted over the landlocked sea which borders both nations, and is connected to the Black Sea by the Kerch Strait. Vladimir Putin's forces seized 3 Ukrainian vessels after opening fire upon them, reigniting fears of war on the Crimean Peninsula. Writing for the Atlantic Council think tank, Ambassador Herbst urged the West to look closely at Russian provocations in the disputed sea. He suggested banning shipping which passes from ports of the Sea of Azov in a bid to urge Russia to back down over its row with Ukraine. Ambassador Herbst's report, Beyond Borderlands, discusses how the US, EU and NATO can protect the security of Eastern Europe amid threats from Russia. His paper was actually released by the Atlantic Council just days before the latest clash in the Black Sea. Russia and Ukraine's new confrontation has brought tensions to their highest point since Moscow seized Crimea from Kiev back in 2014. Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko has urged NATO to intervene and to send military aid as he fears a full-scale invasion from Russia. Ambassador Herbst warned Russia is militarizing Crimea and conducting a simmering hybrid war in the Donbass. He is referencing allegations that Moscow is providing direct military aid to rebel forces who are currently waging civil war in the eastern Ukraine. He wrote, "The United States and the EU should also look closely at Kremlin provocations in the Sea of Azov, and consider an appropriate response. Perhaps it should not permit Russian ships sailing from ports in the Sea of Azov to call at European and U.S. ports, so long as Moscow is obstructing Ukrainian shipping there." Ambassador Herbst warns Russia is carrying out hostile policies that change the map of Europe. He concludes in his paper that the West must aid states on the borders to Russia to ensure their sovereignty and freedom. The diplomat describes Moscow as belligerent and rejecting the vision of a Europe whole and free. A determined West has the power to make it easier for the countries of this region to choose their own future. Both its principles and its interests make this the right decision, he wrote. Russia has repeatedly denied any aggressive intent towards the West or its nearest neighbors including Ukraine. Putin has accused Poroshenko of staging the latest provocation in a bid to boost his flagging poll numbers ahead of Kiev's next election in 2019. Ukrainian officials have declared martial law, ordered a call-up of reservists, begun military drills and closed the border to Russian men of fighting age. Poroshenko has accused Russia of massing tanks and troops just 11 miles from its border, but the Kremlin has dismissed suggestions of invasion as absurd. Russia and the West have butted heads repeatedly this year even before the current crisis, the Black Sea. Putin's involvement in the war in Syria, the poisonings in Salisbury, allegations of election interference in the U.S., and near misses with NATO vessels and planes have all fueled tensions. UN chiefs warned the Cold War is back with a vengeance in a briefing earlier this year amid plunging relations. Daily Star Online previously spoke to Admiral Lord West, who called on the Royal Navy to send a destroyer to the Black Sea amid tensions with Russia.